Hi, I'm Jo Marie Payton, and I'm alive on South Beach.
Hi, I'm Dina Stewart.
And I'm Stuart Stewart, and we're alive on South Beach, broadcasting from the cafe at Books and Books on Lincoln Road.
And we're going to bring you a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
This week, the NAPTE conference was held here in Miami Beach. And what does NAPTE stand for?
National Association of Television Production Executives.
Right. And what are they? Well, this is the marketplace where new television shows start out as pitches and become familiar faces on your home screen. And everybody in the industry was here, and everybody had to show the pitch. Take a look at what we heard.
The show is a celebrity interview series where we go up close and personal with some of the biggest names in music.
Like who would be some of the people?
Who would be some of the people? I'll tell you, Stewart. Akon, Usher, T-Pain, Far East Movement, Flo Rida. He remembers all the big names. I sit down with him, Ziggy Marley. Yeah, it's awesome.
And this is the marketplace where you can take a show like this and actually sell it.
I have a production company. My production company does a lot of different things, but television is one of our strong interests and our strong suits. We have a project called the Beach Chronicles, which is going to be in the Miami International Film Festival. It's an official selection. And we're looking to segue that particular project into a television series.
I'm here to talk about a new program concept that we're developing about the treatment of disease using drugs. What we wanted to do is to attract both men and women so that the whole family can actually get more sort of engaged in the subject and hopefully sort of get a lot of reassurance from the understanding about how diseases work and how the drugs that treat them work.
I'm here to promote my new show. I know I mentioned it to you a few months ago, and it's called Second Chance with Jo Marie. It's a new 1 hour. I call it a talent show. It's a talk, it's variety, and it's reality. But it's to help bring to the forefront and to the public viewing people that had a dream or a desire to do something, and for some reason life happened, they didn't get a chance to do it. Well, I want to make it happen for them, and I want them to come and have fun with me doing it.
We were told that there would be a lot of celebrities walking around this conference. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I bumped into two of them. Let me introduce Trigger and Bullet.
Well, I have a syndicated cooking show that's currently on the air in 24 markets across the Deep South, and we're hoping to pick up some more market share, kind of spread the word of good Southern cooking.
The Hollywood Judge is a television program that's available. Basically, where TMZ meets Judge Judy, and all of our litigants are all celebrities.
I'm a distributor of television programming to stations internationally and domestically in the US. And so I've come here to sell programs to buyers who come from all over the world, and also to find new programs to distribute internationally.
Well, the kitchen, as is true in the world of cooking, is where you mix everything together. And in this case, the kitchen is where we take any TV show, whether it's a telenovela or a feature film, movies, live series, live action, and dub it into every language.
You and your husband, Ken Lorber, created the technology, and you won some awards.
We did. We won, thank you. We won 2 Emmy Awards, Primetime Emmy Awards, for creating the technology for our parent company, which is called TM Systems.
That is a big thing. You've really changed television and made it available to the world.
The best way to give you an example for those who really don't understand what we do, which is pretty much par for the course, I Love Lucy, when it came out in the 50s, took 5 decades to get everywhere in the world in every language. Today when you go home and you watch Grey's Anatomy or Desperate Housewives, people around the world are watching it pretty much day and date, same time, same date, in their language.
To all our fans out there all over the world, listen to my language now. It's going to be the same as yours one of these days. You know, South Beach is known for many things, but the people that live here know that we are a very tight-knit community. And when somebody from the community reaches out for support and help, this is the way we react. Why don't you tell us about Sabrina?
Well, when she was 14 years old, Sabrina Cohen was in a terrible, terrible car accident that left her paralyzed. But undaunted, 20 years later, Sabrina is an inspiration to us all.
With me is Sabrina Cohen and Charlotte LaBeouf. And Sabrina, tell me a little bit about the Sabrina Cohen Foundation.
Well, I started the Sabrina Cohen Foundation for Stem Cell Research in 2006 in order to raise funds and awareness for stem cell research. And I've been doing a lot of events and public speaking to educate the public about stem cell research, and the money that I raise goes directly back to the scientists that need the money and that are doing the vital work.
Well, what do you think it is that the public's not getting about stem cell research that's sort of holding it back?
The biggest challenge that the field of stem cell research faces is the controversy surrounding embryonic stem cells. And it really is not a debate or a logical debate, because in essence there are 400,000 leftover embryos sitting in fertility clinics that are eventually going to wind up in the garbage. And scientists have found that they can use these embryonic stem cells to re-inject and potentially treat people with medical conditions.
This is Charlotte LaBeouf, and why don't you explain why we're all here tonight?
Well, we're here tonight because we're celebrating the fact that Sabrina is a finalist in the American Inspired contest sponsored by Examiner.com. Examiner.com is a media company that is, they call it, I think, hyper-local, writing online about everything going on in the community, and they came up with the idea of celebrating local heroes. I know Sabrina, I've written about Sabrina, and as soon as I read what the contest was about, I said, this is Sabrina.
A couple of months ago at the Miami Book Fair, we had an opportunity to have a conversation with Pete Hamill. And part of that conversation is regarding RFK, Robert Kennedy, and his assassination. We ran that earlier because it was relevant to a story that Fox was running about the possibility of a second shooter in the assassination. And this tape proved that to be just a hoax. So that part of the tape we ran early because we thought the public wanted to hear it. And this is the rest of our conversation with Pete Hamill. When I started my professional career, I was an entertainment publicist in New York. And part of my job was reading columns in the 7 newspapers that were there at the time. And the columns I liked the best were the Crusaders. People like Jimmy Breslin, like Bob Considine, and like Pete Hamill, who was one of the best. You had a way with words that brought me to the scene of whatever you were talking about. And because I was in this business and I had a lot of contacts, I used to get a lot of bits and pieces of information. And then I would read your column and I would be able to connect the dots with the other information that I had.
And that's what you hope for.
Yeah, that's what made it so great. Did you have your own network of people that would feed you with ideas and little bits of information regarding different things?
Not the way the gossip columnists had. You know, there were different gossip columnists, Mike Hall and some other guys. He had a card that said Mike Hall, column crasher, you know, and they would feed items to the 3 dot columnists, you know, that all
the Winchell,
after Winchell. It was invented by Winchell, and there were a lot of imitators. I was more someone who went out to see something, took a lot of notes, came back, and because I was a columnist, I was paid to have an opinion. Say not just what I saw, but also what I thought it meant. I did have friends, some cops and some others saying, we just busted a guy over here, this might be for you, and off I would go. Or people at the courthouses, you know, with the same kind of stuff. And I think every veteran newspaper man, whether a columnist or not, has a similar kind of network. Yeah, it was a whole great generation of particularly the 3 dot columnists who had enormous power. There's never been anybody with the power Winchell had, because he had the column 6 days a week, and he had the radio show.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. North and South America and all the ships at sea. Let's go
to press, right. You know? Where do you think the Internet's going to play in the whole game of bringing information to the public, especially news?
I'm very encouraged by it in the last couple of years. I teach at NYU. A lot of the kids that I meet at NYU are so into the technology they forget that you got to get out of the house and go somewhere and see if the building's burning down, or is it just a story, just a rumor. And what I try to tell them is the technology is providing amazingly useful tools. If you need to get fast Meyer Lansky's birth date, you can get it off Wikipedia or something. But the piano didn't write the music. Mozart did. Thelonious Monk did. Art Tatum did. It's not the instrument. It's what's up here in the head and what's there in the hands. And that they have to be clear about what they're talking about and what they're writing about, and have as much evidence of its validity and its importance as possible.
I have to ask you another question, since we're at the book fair. Why don't you tell us about your new book, Tabloid City?
Tabloid City is a novel that takes place while a newspaper is, in a familiar story, is phasing out of being a newspaper into becoming a website, which might end up as Oblivion, you know. I deal with the editor and some of the old hands, the people. Every time this happens to one of our newspapers, we lose craft. And the readers. The readers, I knew from working for papers in New York that about a subject like, say, immigrants, that the paper had a double function. One was the immigrant who had enough English to understand the paper would understand New York from reading it. At the same time, those newspapers help us to understand the immigrants. To understand they're just like us.
They are us.
They are us.
So Pete, what's in the future for Pete Hamill?
All I know how to do is write. So I'm halfway through a new book. I should be finished in the spring.
What's it going to be about?
It'll be about 280 pages.
There was a question that I always wanted to ask somebody that was part of this group. You were at the hotel in California the night Robert Kennedy was assassinated, and you actually grabbed or helped grab Sirhan Sirhan.
I did.
What was that moment like? I want to thank you very much for giving us a little bit of your time.
Thank you very much.
And
Thanks for having me.
I really wish you were writing a column again.
Well,
I miss it.
You know, thank you.
Well, this brings us to the end of another episode of Alive on South Beach.
A show with a little bit of this. Come on.
And a little bit of that.
And next week we promise you another show that's completely different. That'll also have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So I'm Stuart Stewart.
And I'm Dina Stewart.
And you guys have a great week. We'll see you next week. Because
we're alive on South Beach.
For
syndicatednews.net.